What I love most about the city of Atlanta is the fact that it is bursting with entrepreneurship, business, activism, politics, arts and entertainment, and so much more. In the South, Atlanta has become an attractive place for entrepreneurs, attracting talent from all over the world. My name is Chazelle, and I want to officially welcome you to Movers and Shakers. Here, you get a chance to meet some extraordinary people making big moves and shaking up the industries in which they belong. Today's mover and shaker personifies leadership, business, and empowerment. He serves as the executive director for the Atlanta Black Chambers, which is committed to the growth and success of Black-owned businesses. Today, we're joined by Mr. Melvin Coleman. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I have to be honest, I've been looking forward to our time for the past couple days now. I welcome you to Movers and Shakers. And so I want to get started off because we have so much to talk about. We have a lot to talk about. And I want to start off with leadership, right? I truly believe that leadership is exponentially important to the growth and success of companies, organizations, businesses, whether large or small. And so I want to talk about this role that you're in, this leadership role that you're in, and how did this come to be? And of course, what does it mean to you to be leading such an influential organization?
Wow. Well, hello, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for being here.
When you talk about leadership, you're talking about really people or a person. And so my journey to where I am as the executive director is the organization was founded by Michael T. Hill way back in 2005.
Wow.
I showed up in 2006, went to my first meeting and said, okay, this is great. All of these entrepreneurs, networking, this is what I need.
Right.
Now, something called the Great Financial Crisis around 2009,
right? I remember. Yes.
Really had an impact on the organization, and so it was difficult at that time. Many of us had to leave the organization and really go focus on other things because financially we were in distress.
Right.
So I was away for several years.
Okay.
And during that time that I was away, I really missed it.
Wow.
And I knew that the organization had enormous potential to be great, a powerful, influential organization in the city. I made my way back around 2016.
Right. Wow.
I come to a meeting and I see that things are still in place, but they're going through a transition.
Right.
And so new leadership is coming in. So my timing is good because there's a transition.
Yeah, because you've had some time to step away and now you're coming back. Yes.
Yes. And so some of the people there, of course, knew me, remembered me and said, wow, Melvin is back.
Right.
And so it just so happens that January of 2017, I was appointed as the executive director.
Well, wow.
So things just
congratulations. What a good story.
Things just really worked out. And I knew that, okay, for me to be in this role at this time, having been away and knowing the potential that this organization has to be great, I felt like this divine. Okay.
Because I was just about to ask you, do you feel that there was some type of calling there, right?
I absolutely do.
Right.
And I believe that.
Right.
And in believing that, I know that all I have to do is the work.
Right.
Don't cheat the process.
Yes.
Be sincere, focused, and people will see that realness.
Right.
And they have.
Yes.
And that's what I intend to do. And things have been falling into place. The right people have been showing up for the right roles. Right.
Because that's the other aspect of leadership. You now need to have a good team. Right? You need to work with the right people who have good vision, all hands on deck. And so I think it's important to that's the balance of leadership as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
what I've learned is without the right people who have the right qualities, characteristics, their own leadership ability, you're going to have some serious issues if you're trying to mobilize and move an organization forward. So I'm really grateful for a team, that has supported me and has contributed greatly to what the organization has become in the 4 years. So you're talking about 2017, 2018, 2019, and then of course last year was a challenging year for everybody, 2020. But we have still managed to grow and be very effective in what we do as an organization of entrepreneurs.
Right. On that note, I want to ask you, can you be transparent about any type of challenges that you guys faced in terms of leadership? You're stepping in 2017 and now you're mobilizing a team. Were there any type of challenges that you experienced in moving forward at that point?
Yeah, so for me, there was a lot of work that needed to be done.
I imagine, right?
And people have expectations and they don't have patience.
Right.
And so managing expectations and still keeping everyone together and saying, it's going to happen. Right. I can even remember telling people, don't get off the bus, stay down with me. Right. Yes. And so many of them did. Okay. And, we've been able to deliver on the promises. But say the first couple of years, you had to be a believer. Yes. You had to buy in. Right.
Which not many people do often at the beginning, right?
Right.
Yes, everyone wants to show up at the end for the success, right? But no one wants to be a part of the process and do the work.
So I'm grateful for those ride or die folks who did see it, and we worked together to arrive at this place. And so the future is bright and the work is not complete. Right. So we enjoy the journey because we see what we've been able to achieve.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about ABC. So why Atlanta Black Chambers? What are some of the benefits from being a part of this organization?
So I'll start with Atlanta, the city, which is a global hub for entrepreneurship.
It is.
People come to this city, not just from all over the country, but from all over the world to start a business or expand on an existing business. Atlanta is like the first place that people come to or seek to expand a business. So it makes this organization very relevant because of that entrepreneur demographic that exists in this city. Right. So we have a serious mission and our ability to impact entrepreneurs on their journey. Right. One of the things we like to say is we want to support and assist you to take your business to that next level. That's good. Because there's so many of us here in Atlanta who have established entities and we're making money. Right. We're doing okay. Right. But we know that this isn't it. This isn't all that's available to me. I have to get to that next level to really
you can achieve more,
experience
and be more.
Right. And so the ABC, the Atlanta Black Chambers, we want to be an integral part in that process. Bringing people together, relationships. Another thing that we say is it's about access to the resources that you need to take your business to the next level. Training, putting you in the room with the right people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what we focus on.
Yeah. Because I've been so amazed with so many people. There's so many transplants here. There's this influx of people near and far coming in to the city of Atlanta. And so I thought about how does that impact ABC, right? And then like you just answered, it has a really huge impact on what you guys are doing, because now you're not just catering to people here in Georgia. It's everyone across the world.
So
right?
Atlanta is the destination. Yes. Especially for African Americans. Right. The research shows that in the past 20 years, more Black people have come to this city or the Atlanta metropolitan area than any other city in America. So that validates the Black Mecca
Right.
Thing that people, you will hear that,
right,
and
because you read about it in magazines and you hear about it on the news, and so yes.
It is the Black Mecca because of the numbers, the migration.
Yes.
There's some other things you could point to, but there's a reason why this city represents success and prosperity in the minds of really Black people all over the country.
So let's talk a little bit about the types of programs and activities and events that you guys host. Because I'm sure now that once you become a member, you get to participate in all these wonderful events and activities. Share with me a little bit more about what do you guys offer?
Absolutely. So the events and activities, that's one way that we showcase.
Right.
First and foremost, members of the organization.
Right.
Yeah. So a part of what we do operationally is provide exposure for that business owner, for their brand.
Right.
We want to showcase them to the world.
Yes.
And I always tell members, when we do that, that's your opportunity.
Yes.
This
is your platform.
show everybody why you should be the go-to source for whatever product or service you provide.
Right.
This is your opportunity to demonstrate your capabilities.
Absolutely.
Because the chamber is going to give you an audience,
right?
A target audience of the customers that you're seeking.
Right.
So that's one benefit.
Okay.
And you can see that in the marketing and promotion that we do, where we're showing you we're having this event and wow, there's a member or several members being featured.
Yes.
So when you show up, you're going to hear directly from them.
Right.
And that's their time to really, again, demonstrate, who they are, what they're about. And then folks will say, well, I really need to talk to you. I need your help in this is what you do. I need to really utilize your services.
Right.
So that's one thing that we do. But other ways that we add value for the entrepreneur is our relationships, whether it's in business, community, or government.
Right.
So we have members who are seeking to make connections with the right people.
Right.
And sometimes the chamber can be very instrumental
in
leveraging who we are.
Right.
Say, hey, okay, well, we'll invite that individual out to a particular event.
Yes.
Now we're right here together in the room.
Right.
I might even be able to make an introduction.
Absolutely.
And so if an individual attempted to do that on their own, it's like they're not going to answer the phone, or it's just like I need the juice that the chamber has maybe to help me along in this process.
I'm so glad you touched on that, because I do agree with what you're saying. Business is not just about, selling your products and your services. It's also about building good relationships as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Relationships, your network.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when people join the chamber, instantly they start connecting with all these other entrepreneurs who have gone through this process.
Right.
And so it depends on where you are. Having access to these people who are willing to share all this valuable information. So you could spend 2 years running up against a brick wall, as opposed to being in an environment where you have all these people who can tell you, no, don't do that. Let me tell you, or here's the person you need to talk to. So now, instead of spending all of that time and money and effort and saying, this is not working out, it's like, oh, wow, great. You just saved me all of this.
Yes, time and money.
through connecting with the right people.
That's good.
Yeah, so we're a community.
That's really good. Yeah. So I have to ask you, what are some of the challenges that Black businesses face today?
That's a great question. And it has to be, it's like a breakdown here where you have the B2B, which is the business to business. Okay. And then you have the business who is a business to consumer.
Yes.
And so their challenges, they have some similar challenges, but where they're different is what people we need to put that out there and share that to create a better level of understanding. So the business to business, they need access to opportunities, say contracting with corporations. Yes. You've heard of supplier diversity programs and things like that.
Okay.
So that type of business, that is the challenge for them.
Right.
Okay. How do I get access to all of that? Those lucrative opportunities.
Right.
Okay. So the chamber's role is to prepare and position them. because there are different requirements and certifications and all of this
the
stuff.
Paperwork.
and it could be intimidating.
Yes, yeah.
So that's where an organization like the Chamber and other organizations that are on the front lines of this, ongoing movement.
Right.
Okay, so the business to business, that challenge is different than say, now the B2C, they need the black consumer who spends 1.3 trillion in counting annually.
Wow.
Okay, to shift some of that to, hey, buy this product or service from me so that my business can grow. Right. And then we address the issue of having black-owned businesses who don't have any employees or may have one or two. Right. So the challenges are different.
Because that was my next question for you. Why is it so important for us to support black businesses? And that's really what it is. For a business to be able to grow, you have to be able to support what they're doing and buy their products and their services. So sometimes there's a breakdown and that's not taking place.
Yes, and it's historical. We have a unique, however unfortunate history. Right. You go all the way back. Yes. And so we're accustomed to, as a consumer, spending our dollars almost unconsciously. Yes. So there was a movie back in 1999 called The Matrix. Yes. And many of us, we were familiar with that. We were familiar with the movie.
I think it's Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne.
Right. And so the analogy that I use when I think about the black consumer in America is when they showed all of these infant babies plugged up, and they said, this is our source of energy.
I remember that. Yeah.
So this is our source of energy, and the best part about it is they don't even know it because they're in the matrix. Right. And so to some extent, some would say no, not to some extent, to a great extent. If you're spending over $1 trillion annually, and I think 97% is outside of the black community. Right. Nobody else is doing that. Right. So my call to action is that we've got to get out of the matrix.
How do we do that? Is it education? Is it ignorance? How do we fix that? How do we bridge that gap?
Such a big question.
I know, and I'm asking it, and I know that it's a tough one.
It's a process.
Right.
Okay, and we are doing better incrementally. It's like you can see.
We've improved.
You can see because there's a mindset. Right. Okay, due to different things that have happened. Yes. That have caused people to wake up and take a look and say, okay, I need to change my own behavior and some of the decisions that I'm making. But it is a consistent message to just say, hey, pay attention to this. We have the ability to do better. It's like we're not powerless, we're actually powerful. And so we just need to have that mindset.
Yes, so it's awareness.
An awareness.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we're doing things again unconsciously, like we're just in the matrix.
Right.
and it's benefiting other folks.
I feel like we've been in that matrix for some time, right? And it's like now we need to transition. And it's like, how do we transition? Because sometimes people need the tools in which to do so.
And that goes back to the Chamber's mission, where we're bringing people together so that they can form these relationships where they're collaborating and they're able to seek bigger opportunities because they're working together. And so all of this is a part of a bigger movement that the work that we're doing now, the next generation will be in a better place, and then they can continue to build. I always tell people, we talk about black-owned businesses. It is my goal that one day we'll be talking about black-owned corporations. That's what this is ultimately about.
That's the ultimate goal.
Okay. Yes, because our spending power, our consumer base, it deserves and demands that we get to that place where we're just doing better. Doing better.
What about the demographics in terms of the makeup at the Atlanta Black Chambers? And do you have a lot of millennials? What are the age groups?
Yeah, so it's funny. Sisters are, they are just awesome.
Yes.
You know? So it's trending probably 55-45 in terms of male to female.
Right.
Okay. Shout out to the Atlanta Black Chambers Women's League.
Right.
They do a lot of
phenomenal
great,
job. Yes.
Great activities, events, and things like that. And so, and it may even reflect the demographics of the city itself, or the metropolitan area. But these female entrepreneurs, which is the fastest growing area of entrepreneurship in America,
right?
Like black females.
Yes.
Yeah. So it makes sense that the organization or the membership would reflect that.
Right.
We do have millennials because we have a group that we actually created for them. It's called the Young Entrepreneurs Collaborative.
Oh,
and
very
so
nice.
and so you have to be, at this point it's 35 or younger.
Okay.
Yeah. So you count me out. All right. They let me hang out with them for a few minutes.
I thought you were. I'm just kidding.
So I can just keep up with what they got going on.
Right.
But so we do that, and then
because I think, Melvin, it's good to have a balance of different age groups when you have an organization like this.
It is.
Yes.
And if we didn't create the Young Entrepreneurs Collaborative, we would not be able to really grow the membership, say 25, 30-year-old, because they're not really looking. They're not so much attracted to hanging out with, 40, I'm 52. They're not checking for me, right?
Right.
But when we create something for them, then they really start to show up.
Okay.
Yeah. And before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to our veteran entrepreneurs group, which are I'm a former Navy man myself.
Okay.
So, and that's a big population here in Atlanta, the veterans community.
Okay.
And those, and a lot of them are business owners.
Right.
So we have that as well. And so with the women, the millennials, and the veterans, we're doing pretty good in terms of having the different demographic groups.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So let's talk a little bit about the pandemic. And I mean, last year was a difficult year for all businesses. And so how did this impact, the Atlanta Black Chambers, the members? What have you heard in terms of, did some businesses survive? Did some of them have to close down? What did that look like in terms of membership?
Well, it definitely had an impact, and it's different on, say, different types of businesses.
Right.
So if you were brick and mortar, then the severity of the impact is felt, more.
Right.
And then if you were a business that had no online or digital presence at all, then there was a learning curve because you had to pivot.
Right.
And so that was a struggle for some. And so those two things I can clearly say, hey, that was difficult. Now for some of the other types of businesses where you didn't necessarily depend on having a brick and mortar location, they were already very proficient and established online doing business, they just did not suffer nearly as much.
Right.
And in some cases, depends on the market you're serving, business could have increased.
Right.
Yeah, because
so it depends on the industry.
People are staying home, they're doing things a little bit differently. And say you have a business where if somebody's staying home, they're more apt to use your service.
Right.
So it was different for different people.
Right.
Or different entrepreneurs. Yeah.
And so during the pandemic, did you guys have to do any pivoting and adapting of your own in terms of marketing? And did your membership grow? Because sometimes in certain situations throughout the pandemic, I've noticed that some organizations, their membership grew during that time. Was that the same for you?
Yes. And I was very surprised by that.
Right.
Yeah. But there were
That's
other...
something you weren't expecting.
Yes. So I'll answer your question about pivoting. Everybody had to pivot to this virtual world of doing things. And so that was interesting early on. But then once we understood how this could work, now we're saying stuff like, even when we go back to life as we once knew it, we're not going to go all the way back.
We're going to do things differently.
We're going to hold on to some of this.
Yes.
This is very efficient. and it didn't cost nearly as much.
Right.
So that was, Okay. So you discovered a lot of things that you otherwise would not have.
Right.
You were forced in a direction. And that also applies to business owners who would have never innovated or tried something different. And now that they have, it's like, man, I didn't know that this could work.
Exactly. Yes.
And so they don't plan to go all the way back. You know, once we can go back to physical and doing things, yes, everybody will re-engage and do that. But the virtual or the digital, that world
created,
it's here. The pandemic accelerated the adoption of that. Where a lot of folks are, you have early adopters, and then you have people who it could take them forever, because if they don't have to do it, then I can remember when direct deposit first came out, and I've had friends who were like, I don't trust it. I'm not doing that. Now, I mean, most people get direct deposit.
Because I just think, change is hard for most people. Wouldn't you agree? Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so again, the pandemic accelerated that process of adopting this new way of doing business. You talked about our membership.
Yes.
The spring and summer of 2020, because of the social climate and the civil unrest.
Yes. Which we're going to talk about.
Okay. I was going to say that was a factor in just the emotions, and then this consciousness that, okay, I need to be a part of, and I need to get active and engaged.
Yes.
And so that impacted membership.
Yes, because I want to definitely talk about that. I know that the Black Lives Matter movement, had a huge impact, across the nation and throughout the world. And so I want to talk about, what did that do? How did that impact the Atlanta Black Chambers? Of course, like you just said, the membership grew.
Yes.
But what about the conversation? What about that sense of activism and how did that all come together?
So we were impacted by the outcome of people being affected by what they saw and what they felt.
Right. And in some cases experienced as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So the black consumer, but also consumers everywhere, across racial lines.
Yes.
Literally, we were taking calls from people like, I'm looking for a black-owned business that does X. I'm looking for a black-owned business that does Y. There was a commitment, an emotional commitment that I'm about to spend X amount of dollars on whatever transaction it was, and I want to spend it with a black-owned business. And that came out of, again, the social climate, the civil unrest, BLM, and everything that was taking place really on the streets of America. At that time, the focus was profound. I can remember a brother calling and reaching out to the chamber. He was going to have a fence installed at his home. And so this is a relatively significant purchase. It could be $1,000 easily to do that. And he was not going to take no for an answer with regard to finding a black-owned company that did the whole fence installation. And so we didn't have one in the chamber, but it goes back to having a network. So I just put it out
to tap into your network.
I just put it out to the membership, and then we probably had, I know he had at least 3-4 options, whereas before he was bumping his head up against the wall. I'm about to spend this money, and this is how I want to spend it. But good for him that he let me call the people who should know, right? And so we were able to.
And I'm glad that there is an organization that they can reach out to, right? Because that's helpful as well.
And so that's just one example. But if you amplify that across the country, and like I said, beyond our community, because there were white people, Asian, Hispanic, everyone was like, this isn't right. What can I do?
What can I do?
And so our only question was, this is probably temporary. So the conversations were more like, let's maximize the opportunities, and then establish new relationships, because if you provide a good experience, they will want to come back and do business with you again and again. So it was a real opportunity for a lot of Black-owned businesses, and they saw this uptick in business volume because people. That's good. Yeah, that was the mentality. The spring and summer of 2020. Yeah, a historic time that 50 years from now it'll be taught in history classes. High schoolers or whatever, they'll be talking about the spring and summer of 2020 was a very turbulent time in the United States of America.
How does that position the organization for the next 5 years? How do you see that?
We were already a relevant, say, agency in this whole process, but it actually empowers us even more to have greater influence, which means greater responsibility to execute on our mission, because we have to deliver. And some stuff we talked about earlier, where the B2B businesses need access to those supplier diversity programs, and they need to be in position to realize success. So the chamber has to educate, train, the different programs and certifications and things that they need, so that they can participate in, hey, I got this big contract from whether it's Georgia Power, Delta, Home Depot, and it's going to change my whole business is going to be different, because this opportunity is going to take me to another level. That's really what it gets down to, is the opportunities that are game changers. And so there's a lot of responsibility on an organization like the ABC to make sure that these things happen.
Well, that's good to know. So what do you want to put out there that people need to know more about the ABC? How can people looking at this show get involved? How can they contact you? What's the social media information? How can they get involved?
Absolutely. Well, Atlanta is a special place, and an organization like the Atlanta Black Chambers, we play a key role in creating what we call the ATL experience. Where you have all of these entrepreneurs who are supported by an ecosystem, an environment where all of these resources are available. All you have to do is tap in to the right organization, meet the right people, and you can be successful. And that's why people come here, because someone's told them.
Yes, they've heard.
Go to Atlanta, it's like, okay. And so that's what we see every day. Okay. And so we're very happy and excited to play our part in this process for all of these entrepreneurs who will one day be business owners of major corporations.
That's the goal.
That's really that's the change that we want to see, where Black-owned major corporations is not even a big deal. That's what this is all about. And it starts at this level. Relationships, opportunities, collaborating, growing, building together.
Absolutely.
That's what this is all about. And so in terms of reaching out to us, we have a website, atlantablackchambers.org. Follow us on our social media, which would be Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and all of those are the name of the organization is how you would find it. Atlanta Black Chambers. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, those primarily are the three that we use. But we would love to have anyone who's interested. And we create opportunities for you to come check us out. You don't have to be a member to
because I was just about to ask that you don't need to be a member to, attend some of the events.
Absolutely. A lot of our events where we're showcasing members, we want you to come and attend. Because we're showcasing a member at a particular time and they want that audience. So we welcome you come check us out.
Right.
See what we do.
And you also host an open house. How often is that?
So every other month we have open house. So we do it in January, then we'll do it again in March.
Okay.
So it's every other month. It's virtual now. I can't wait to get back to doing it physically in person.
Yes.
Doing a virtual open house, and so we're on Zoom and people are not showing video.
Right.
I'm like,
so we can't really.
Like, if I had you in the same room, you wouldn't be able to hide, right?
Right.
So I do look forward to being able to go back. That's one that I won't be doing virtually when I have the opportunity. Right?
Okay.
Like I said, we're going to keep some stuff,
right,
but there's some stuff that we're not going to keep. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I mean, I hope that you've enjoyed being here on Movers and Shakers. As a guest of Movers and Shakers, I want to ask you, when you hear that term, what comes to mind? What do you define as a mover and shaker?
Well, right now I think about Chazelle.
I think about you, though.
So,
thank you.
These are very dynamic people who are often maybe well connected. They have relationships.
Yes.
They're never lagging the trend. They're out in front of it.
Right.
And really, I think you don't have to be a mover or shaker per se, because it may not be, the way you're put together, that may not be you.
Yes.
But you better have some in your network.
Yes.
So that you can stay engaged and up on what's happening, so to speak, and the opportunities and the trends, and because the movers and the shakers are the ones that know.
Right.
So again, it goes back to that network, those relationships, because everybody's not a mover or shaker.
Right. True.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But having access to movers and shakers,
knowing a few of them will not,
would be a big help.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
So that's how I see it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I absolutely enjoyed speaking with you, and of course, I wish you guys continued success with all the work that you're doing. And if there's anything that we can support you with, please let us know. And once again, you've shared your information, and I just know that you are going to continue doing the great work that you're doing. So thank you for being here.
Well, I can't thank you enough for this experience.
You're welcome.
And I have to say, based on this experience, your trajectory is like, wow.
I appreciate that.
You are on your way into the stratosphere. And of course, the chamber, the Atlanta Black Chambers, the ABC, is going to do all that we can to make sure that you are taking off like a rocket.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you for this
so
opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.